Chelsea vs Gotham was a game I was looking forward to, mostly because I was excited to see how the teams from two different leagues would fare up against one another. But it didn't really go as I expected it to, and watching the game, I didn't expect Gotham to struggle so much against Chelsea. So how did Chelsea suffocate Gotham, and why were Gotham struggling to create and convert chances in that game? In starting, Chelsea lined up in a 4-2-3-1 and Gotham in a 4-1-4-1. But despite this, Chelsea never even actually used the 4-2-3-1 at all in the game. In defense, Chelsea used their regular 4-4-2 formation to stay in close proximity among their players and apply pressure aggressively on the opponents. Now this does two things. One, it suffocates the opponent because they have no time on the ball, and two, it doesn't allow them to play through the center because of how compact Chelsea are with this formation. And even if there was space to exploit, Chelsea was not afraid to send in bodies and press the players and either win the ball back or force a pass back. Now Gotham on the other hand used the 4-1-4-1, and the holding midfielder in this 4-1-4-1, Neely Martin, is actually a defender who is playing as a holding midfielder in this game. Now, when it came to building up from the back, Chelsea's way to do this was to play passes in the centre and create chances from there. But even though this was their main method for creating chances, they also sent quite a number of long balls into Guru Wrighton to chase in the first half. Now, in the first half, Gotham actually attempted this as well, but it just did not work for them, which was probably why Amoros changed his plan in the second half. And whenever Chelsea won the ball back from Gotham, there would be a sea of blue players surrounding the Gotham players, which then just allowed Chelsea to practice their rondos as Gotham pressed them. Now, when it came to playing high and wide, Chelsea also sent their only English woman made of adamantium, Lucy Bronze, high and wide up the pitch to help create an overload in attack. And Liam Charles, who was the other fullback and was absolutely brilliant in this game, also pushed up occasionally, but she was not as aggressive as Lucy Bronze, which also probably explains why all three goals of Chelsea actually came from the right side, which was the side that Lucy Bronze was playing on. And another player on the Chelsea team that I found had a really interesting role was Lauren James, who was given the freedom to drop really deep, sometimes even as a holding midfielder, to receive the ball from the back line and then driving up the pitch and dribbling her way up there to create chances for the team. Now, Gotham, on the other hand, surprised me a little bit because they did not use their goalkeeper in the build-up. And this would mean that there would be a man disadvantage because Gotham would not actually have a free player on the pitch because they were not using all their 11 players that were present. So they were playing basically a 10 versus 10 game, which meant that Chelsea was able to press almost all of their passes. And in the first half, whenever Gotham attempted to play in the center, and although some of their passes did penetrate the center and they were pretty good, they were actually not the most effective. And this was for a number of reasons. Firstly, Gotham would almost always find themselves with no way to penetrate the Chelsea defense because of how close the Chelsea players were to each other. And because of how close they were to each other, they were able to easily cut out passes, which then made the Gotham players realize that they should probably hold on to the ball for a little longer, and this caused them to actually hold on to the ball for too long, which then allowed Chelsea to press them and either force a pass back or force them to lose the ball. So basically, Chelsea were just Kevin McAllister from Home Alone that set traps for Gotham, who kept getting caught in them like Harry and Mark. And Gotham also attempted to send the fullbacks high and wide in the second half, but because of how organized Chelsea were, they just could not find a way through them. Now, before I break down the goals, the one person that I thought was absolutely brilliant in this game was Liam Charles. And honestly, I've got a newfound respect for her from this game. And not only was she providing support in the attack, but in defense, her reading of the game and interceptions were absolutely amazing. Whenever she was on the flank, she dealt with it superbly, and I really admired her ability to read the pass before it even happened. She wasn't only cutting out passes, but also making sure that almost always there was no ball and player that made it past her together. And at times, she was even cutting out two players in one go, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And this reading of the pass before it even happened was actually something that all the Chelsea players did throughout this game, and in my opinion was the biggest difference maker between Chelsea and Gotham. Because in this game, Chelsea were acting on the game, while Gotham were reacting, which then put them a step behind every time they went to win the ball. And funnily, Gotham would also commit a lot of bodies to press the Chelsea players, but they never really pressed them, which then allowed Chelsea to actually turn out of trouble and play elsewhere. And because of so many bodies committed to the press without winning the ball or without forcing a pass back, there were loads of gaps on the field that Chelsea exploited, leaving Gotham to just chase their shadows. Now, in my opinion, when it came to the goals, Gotham at times were their own biggest enemies. And this first goal actually came because the Gotham players were caught ball watching, and Bruninia, who was marking Kenneth, actually turns her body the opposite way when she tries to chase her down and realize that the pass was played, which then caused her to be caught on the back foot and then leaving her a step behind, which then allowed Kenneth to actually put the ball behind the back of the net. Now the second goal was a loose pass played by Martin, which was then intercepted by Kenyard, who does amazing to hold her run at the edge of the box to gain an inch of space from the defenders and then to get a shot off Beaver Jones's pass. Now in the third goal, Lauren James passes the ball to Kenyard, who then sends a long ball over the top for Beaver Jones to slot it home. But if you take a look at this clip, you can see that before Lauren James even passes the ball to Kenyard, Jess Carter is already telling Lopez to follow Beaver Jones, but Lopez just does not drop in time and is looking for an offside. And honestly, I just don't understand why she chooses an offside instead of following her person, because a defender's first assumption should always be the worst case scenario and how to prevent that. But in this case, Lopez was just looking for the best case scenario, and then she just gets caught by the Chelsea attacker. And as for Gotham's goal, Jess Carter did an amazing job to get away from her marker captain, and then a missed header from Charles meant that she was all alone in the back to slot the header home. Now overall, Chelsea just set the perfect trap for Gotham, and unfortunately for them, they fell right for it. And with Chelsea winning both their preseason friendlies in the US, it would be amazing to see how Sofia Bompasta's Chelsea fare up against the WSL teams in the upcoming season, and who will be the first to break down this Chelsea team.